The next topic that we want to talk about has to do with cofunctions. And when we look at cofunctions, we're looking at this idea that there's some sort of relationship between the sine of one angle and the cosine of its complementary angle. Now remember, we've talked about complementary angles in that complementary angles are two angles that add together to give us 90 degrees. If we come over here to this triangle that I have drawn over here on the left, or it's sketched for you over here on the left, and we think about the angles that are occurring here in this triangle, we already know, since we're talking about right triangles, that this angle down here, which is represented by 90 degrees, is taking up 90 degrees out of the 180 total degrees available in a triangle. So that means then that these two acute angles, and we're going to call them angles A and B, those two angles right there have to then add up to give me the remaining 90 degrees in my triangle. So we would say then that angles A and B are complementary of each other. And that's what cofunctions, the cofunction identities, is dealing with. So I want you to come up here though in our previous example and let's look at this for just one more time. So here we had two angles A and B. We had a right triangle up here, and I want you to notice that when I found the sine of angle A, if I look over here in the angle B columns, notice that the cosine of angle B is exactly the same measure. So the sine of angle A is equal to the cosine of angle B. The function values are the same. It's just the sine of one angle is the cosine of another angle. And then we can see that similar process over here. If I was looking at the cosine of angle A, that's going to be the exact same value as the sine of angle B. So there's this relationship then that's going on between this, in this particular case that we're looking at, the sine and the cosine of our two complementary angles, A and B. So our cofunction identities are listed for us down here. And you can see that really one of these columns is just the repeat of the second column that's over here. It just depends on which way you're looking at it. So the sine of theta is going to be equal to then the cosine of 90 minus theta. Another way to think of that would be that the sine of angle A has to be equal to the cosine of angle B, because 90 minus theta is that angle B. Angle A and angle B do add together to give me 90 degrees. So we're going to use this cofunction identity to be able to answer this set of questions that we have right down here. I want to just be able to rewrite each of these functions in terms of their cofunction. Or in other words, I'm looking at this angle and I'm going to rewrite it in terms of its complementary angle. So according to what I have up here, I don't have to necessarily follow along with a specific formula, but I probably need to point out to you that, let me get rid of this for just a second, that sine and cosine partner together. With cofunction identities, sine and cosine are related, tangent and cotangent are related, and secant and cosecant are related. And this idea of this relationship has to do with the fact that they're cofunctions of each other. So now, when I come down here and I want to rewrite the cosine of 52 in terms of its cofunction, well, the function that partners with cosine in this identity happens to be sine. So I'm going to take the cosine of 52 degrees and I'm going to rewrite it in terms of sine of its complementary angle, which means 90 minus 52 degrees. Or in other words, the sine of 38 degrees. So the cosine of 52 degrees is going to be the exact same answer as the sine of 38 degrees. That's what we see using the identities, and that's what we saw above. So let's just practice that one more time. If we were looking at secant, so the trick is just remembering who partners with secant in cofunctions. If I have the secant of 24 degrees, then its partner has to be cosecant, And then 90 minus the 24 degrees that I'm already given is cosecant then of 66 degrees. So if I were to take the secant of 24 degrees, that answer would be the exact same thing as the cosecant of 66 degrees. So this idea of cofunctions is going to be useful to us at a later point, but this is what they actually mean.